Hello and welcome back to Off the Water. I'm your host, JP. Happy New Year, everybody. We left 2020 behind. We're into 2021, and we can only hope for better prospects for this year. I know I'm looking forward to doing a lot more traveling and getting back out there to give you guys the best opportunity to find stuff to do off the water. I hope you guys all have a great year. And if you had a great 2020, awesome. A lot of us sure didn't, but that's in the past. We're going to dive right into the new episode of the new year. Today, we're going to be going up to the northwest area of the United States, Washington to be specific. And I have no other than Mr. Chase Odeen. What's going on, brother?
What's up, JP? How are you, man?
Good. Yourself?
Doing as well as I can be. Hey, 2021, we're finally kicking it off, right?
Most definitely.
About time.
I'm happy that we're here. So, yeah. Chase, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're fishing about, and just kind of let everybody know what you did, who Mr. Chase Odeen is.
You bet. So I live in Washington. I actually live on the west side of Washington, so right around the Puget Sound area where the freshwater lakes never freeze year-round.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Funny story about that. I actually reached out to some of the guys at KBF and was like, "Hey, why aren't we doing tournaments in Washington year-round? Like, why aren't we kicking it off in January or February like the other states?" And they're like, "Dude, half the state's frozen." I was like, "All right, fair enough." I was like, make those other guys come over here.
Right.
So yeah, no, that part's awesome. But yeah, I live right on the Puget Sound, west side of Washington. Currently, I'm a sergeant in the United States Army, active duty. I'm stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord. Happily married, going on 7 years. Ooh, yeah. So I've got number 7 coming up in June. And I got a 6-year-old who will be 7 in November. So do the math. But everything is well on this side of the country, man. That's pretty much it. I started fishing when I was really little, like everyone else, grandpa, dad, fished pretty much anything freshwater growing up, running diddy poles and trout lines on the Cedar River in Iowa. And I absolutely loved it. And then I finally got up to college, and my brother introduced me to bass fishing, and that led into the FLW College Series. So
nice.
It was amazing, man. We founded the team at Northern Illinois University, and I was able to fish on that team my junior and senior year while I was going to school there. So I was able to fish like real FLW college events. So that was absolutely incredible. And that was when I caught the bug. And the bug I'm talking about.
Oh, that bug. I know that bug.
Fishing bug. Like every video you have to watch, every article you have to read, every discussion board you have to crane over every single word. So yeah, that's when I caught the bug. I graduated from college. My grades went really far down that junior and senior year, but I still made it out. I was a lot more worried about catching fish. And moved around a little bit, back to Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, met my wife in Wisconsin, and joined the military almost 6 years ago, coming up on my 6-year anniversary here shortly. So then we got stationed out here in Washington, and the rest is history. Bought a house out here, live right next to 2 lakes. I can literally throw a rock from this window right now and hit a body of water, so... I like that.
Nice.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons we move out the house. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it. I started kayak bass fishing late 2018, really in the beginning of 2019, and then 2020 seems to be my rookie year. Is what
there you go.
People. So that's, I guess that's kind of the trend I'm on. I wish I would have known it was my rookie year. I would have done a lot more tournaments. You only get one of those.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, man, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your service to this country. Thank you for, and it's a huge sacrifice to have, and a lot of listeners are military, so having that sacrifice to continue your career in the military and raise a family together, it's huge. So it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Now, you've been having a pretty big social media blast going on right now, coming off the national championship down in Alabama. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. That was quite an adventure, and I wanted to make sure that I got as much as I could on film. And the intent the entire time was to put it into a format that was digestible and tell a story about my journey to Lake Guntersville and back for the 2020 Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship. I just was kind of late on the game of editing and publishing. I had about 50 hours plus of film to go through, and then another probably 200 or 300 pictures that I took. So I had to get that all comprised down into a 15-20 minute video that people would want to stick around for. So I did all that, and then I got it published on my channel, Chase Odeen Fishing. Check it out if you guys are bored or just want to see some cool stuff. But yeah, it's been blowing up, man. It's been less than a week up, and it's been blowing up for my channel. It's been up for less than a week, and I think it's over 450 views right in there. And I couldn't be more excited. Awesome comments too, getting a lot of positive feedback. And that's one of the best things about YouTube is, you get that feedback, and you get to have a conversation with a guy who fished that same exact spot when he was down there, and he wanted to tell you what he caught, and then you guys are talking to each other on the side. It's so cool.
Yeah, and I envy, because I did qualify, but unfortunately, and this just as well as anybody else, due to the COVID restrictions, the city of Chicago, and by all free reign, I will freely speak my mind about this, but the city of Chicago implemented a travel ban, which, and it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense, because you can't enforce it to the people who live in the city of Chicago. But guess what? If you work for the city of Chicago and someone tags you in something, that's a rabbit hole that a lot of people are going down that you don't want to go down.
Oh yeah.
Because now you're getting in trouble based upon technicalities. And that was the decision of, do I go? Or again, like I always tell people, don't mess with my money. And if something were to happen that messes with my money, yeah, it ain't happening. So I do have all intentions on going down to Bossier City. I've already qualified for 2021 national championship. So hopefully, and I'm already in phase 1 of my vaccination. So phase 2 should be coming in the next couple weeks here. So I'll have all your vaccinations, so there ain't no reason for me not to go.
Yeah. I had to do some gentle maneuvering to get down there, but it worked out. I got the thumbs up from everyone that I needed to appropriately, so I got down there safe and sound. Actually, the way that I got down there is crazy. So I traveled 2,500 miles in a 2009 Dodge Journey with 160,000 miles on it from Washington to Lake Guntersville.
That's amateur stuff.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll kick it up a notch for you. I did not pay for a single hotel.
Nice.
Yep. So I slept in the Journey all the way to the Midwest.
Okay.
Actually, I have family right around Chicago, Wilmington area, Joliet, right in there.
And that's how our connection came about.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. So I was able to take a pit stop in the Midwest and sleep in a bed. It was amazing. But yeah, man, funds were not aplenty. I couldn't afford to stay at a hotel every night, so I made the drive as quickly as I could, safely as I could. But I got down there in, I'll say, less than 3 days. I'll say it took between 2 and 3 days.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, especially the route you take. I mean, I've been out west. I've been to Wyoming, Montana, that well, what would be northeast section of Idaho. So going there from the going back towards Chicago, that really, and especially if you're taking like I-80 into Wyoming and then going north into like the Tetons, it looks easy on a map because they don't show you the elevation change and the mountains you have to go around, or that there's switchbacks driving every way and you're carrying a heavy load.
It was nuts. I mean, it was
Yeah.
absolutely nuts. Before I left, I used what funds I had left in the fishing account, dad's account, to put as much money as I could into the car to make it as safe as I could to get me there, which did not include fixing the heat. So I had no heat in October going to and from. Oh yeah, no, it was nuts, man. But I had 4 new wheels, had a new battery, everything, like all the checks in the box of like, hey, you're gonna be good to go. So I got all that taken care of, and man, nobody warns you about Montana. Nobody warns you about Montana. But driving east to west Montana in October, late October, that's nuts. It's crazy. I guess it'd probably be similar to Texas. I know Texas is a lot bigger, but east to west, Montana was like, I can't believe I'm still going through Montana. Of the 3 days, less than 3 days it took me to get to Alabama, I spent a solid day driving in Montana.
Oh yeah, it's like Groundhog Day. I remember when we we did an RV trip out there. It was me and 4 buddies, and we're driving, and there's nothing. It's like purgatory. It's never ending. It just keeps going and going and going. You're like, how far is 90 from here? And we still got about 300 miles. You're like, crap.
You think no way? Like you just not. It's
Right.
not a thing, but no, it exists. Montana is a real state. I guess it's still there after I left it. I didn't feel like it was, because once I drove out of there, I was like, oh, that's never gonna happen again. I'll go straight south. I'll go to California next time. I don't care.
Well, that's awesome. And you know what? And that's kind of the whole point of the show, is to live for the adventure, man. I mean, it's one thing to go fishing down there, but how'd you get there, and what happened to make you get there? It's a whole nother story in itself.
Yes. Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And in my YouTube video that I published for the event, that was one of the things that I tried to really incorporate into the video. It wasn't just like me using these techniques, fishing these spots. No, it was about like, hey, I drove this far in this car, with not a trailer towing my feel free kayak, but it was on the roof. It was on the roof rack.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've ever lifted up a lure V2, 11.5, but those aren't very light by themselves. So
man,
very stable, but not very light.
I got myself an Old Town, the Old Town Sportsman AP, and that's 100 pounds, just the boat itself.
Ooh, yeah, yeah, that's where we're about at too. I was sketched out sleeping on the rest stops, because like as you're trying to fall asleep and cars are coming around like a turn or a bend or whatever, and they have their brights on and you're kind of pulled off to the side. I don't know. It was a little nerve wracking, to be honest, especially when you're on those mountains and as rest stop and you absolutely had to sleep and you're just looking around and you're like, oh, there's a weird cargo van. There's 3 semis and there's a 89 Camaro. All right, here we go.
You know what, Chase? For everyone who's watching on YouTube, we're going to go ahead and play a quick segment from your video, just to highlight some of the reels that are inside of there. So we'll give them a quick little preview of this. So give me 1 second. We're going to share this screen. Chrome tab. All right.
There we go.
So just sharing a little bit of that, you could see, you know, the car with your kayak on top of it. I mean, just setting the table to make that trip across country like that. I mean, it takes some cojones, man. It takes some balls to do, man, especially if you're going solo, you know?
Yeah, my dad thought I was crazy. Like legitimately crazy. I must have got a call from him every couple hours. Hey man, you all right? You doing okay? Like, how you doing? You okay? You in any trouble? I'm like, no, Dad, I'm fine. I'm gonna do it. I had my heart set on 2020, man. Like I called it in the beginning of the year, right around March. I actually did a different podcast interview, and I called it. You know, I said, hey, I just won. I think it was the March 2020 state challenge for Washington, and I won it. And yeah, man, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. And I wrote it on I have this weird thing. I write my goals on my mirror in my bathroom. I know it sounds like a crazy person thing. But one of my goals was to not only qualify, but place top 100 in the Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship. In order to do that, number one, you have to afford to go.
Yep.
and number two, you got to make it down there, you know. And number three, you got to qualify. So, I mean, that had a lot packed into it. But every day, man, I'd wake up and I'd see that and just be like, all right, let's go. Let's go. How am I going to get there today? What am I going to do next? So, yeah, I wanted 2020 to be big, and it was. Wanted it to be bigger. But
you know what, though? You got to take things in stride. You know, you have so much. And let me ask you this. What did you learn from 2020? And what did you learn from competing in this year going into 2021?
Well, a lot of that's on that YouTube video, actually.
Yep.
But as a whole, let's see. Let's go insofar as kayak bass fishing. Oh, fish more live events. Not the challenges, not the online stuff. Fish live events. If you want to be a better angler, put yourself on a lake with other anglers and fish those live events.
Absolutely.
In fact, save the entry fee for 3 or 4 months. You know, whatever. You might not have to. I don't know whose ever situation it is, but you know, save that entry fee and put that toward the live event that you have to travel an extra few hours for, and go fish that, because that'll make you a better fisherman, guaranteed. So
absolutely.
That was a big one. Another one was when you get that opportunity, you know, don't lose yourself in the moment. I'm a pretty excitable guy. I get jacked up about stuff. I get pretty determined, and that carries over on the water. But you know, the fish don't need a jacked up guy in the kayak trying to get them in there. You know what I mean? They don't need that. They need, you know, sometimes you gotta fish a lot slower. It's like, I think one of KBD's quotes that I always remember is, you know, if you're not catching them, you're fishing too fast, slow down. And then ... Trust me, you're still fishing too fast, slow down.
Absolutely. And you know, with being in the fire service and you're in the military, you know the number one thing that you're always taught. All right. Slow and methodical. The minute you start picking up pace, you start wanting to get a little revved up, you're going to make a mistake.
100%.
You have to, and it's the same thing with tournament fishing. I just did an article for Firehouse Magazine, and one of the things that, you know, yes, this is a stress reliever, but at the same time, I still have that competitive edge to me. I want to get out there. I want to do the best I can. But you got to remember two things. It's just fishing, number one. And number two, there are more mistakes made when your mind is cluttered and you are flustered than there are when you're trying to go 100 miles per hour. Slow and steady, man. You once you get that tug, you don't want that tug to go away.
No, that becomes a real thing. And then you're chasing the bite, you know?
Yep,
The
absolutely.
the only person you're competing with on the water truly is yourself. It's the 6 inches between your ears. You know, if you can beat that guy, if you can stay back those demons, whatever it is you're fighting, you're gonna have a great day on the water. Whether you catch fish or not, you're gonna have a great day on the water. That's another big lesson. 2020 lesson right there is a lot of the things that I refuse to continuously learn in my life. Fishing out of a kayak competitively is making me learn.
You know what? And to your point, I did so it was 2019. I was in La Crosse, Wisconsin. It was for the Trail Series Championship.
I love
I mean,
lacrosse.
I mean, the big sticks were there, man. I mean, Jamie Dennison, Barry Davis, Brad Case, you name them, they were there. Jackson Orr. I mean, everyone was there. Now I was I was alongside these guys, and I bombed. First day I came up with a goose egg. Did all right pre-fishing, but that one day they weren't there. Now, if this was an FLW event where they were based upon weight, day 2, that would have been a money bag. However, these bass were smaller in size, but they had girth. They were chunky. They were 2-3 pounders but they didn't have the length they needed. And I wound up with my 3 that I caught second to last place. But guess what? I still had a blast.
Oh yeah.
And at that point where it's okay, I'm lower down here. Have fun. Have fun with it. Go, you know what? You're with the best of the best. Guess what? There's still a roster that needs to be filled. There's still going to be a first spot. There's going to be a last spot. Everyone who's ever competed will somewhere along the lines fall everywhere in between there. So guess what? That's where I wound up for that event. So be it. I had a blast though fishing it.
Absolutely, man. No, that's 100% right. And it was the same thing with me in the national championship this year. Kind of the same story. I only had about a day and a half to pre-fish, and I never found a pattern. But I went out there, and I was trying frantically to catch 8 fish, and I was like striking out. So I'd pedal harder, and I'd go somewhere else, and I'd travel another mile and another mile. So this sounds unbelievable. The first day of practice that I had, which was my only full day, I paddled 9.5 miles. You can't do much fishing. So this is what my dad said. You can't do much fishing when you're paddling almost 10 miles, can you, Chase? I was like, yep, that's fair. That's fair. But I came out of day 1 with 2 fish that were 12.5 inches. Now I caught 7 total that day, but there's like 10s, 11s. I even had an 11.5, And if I would have just caught those 5 12-inch fish, I would have made it into the top 100 because my second day was incredible. I mean, that's easily the best day of tournament fishing I've ever had. Was my second day of the kayak bass fishing national championship, hands down.
Good.
Yeah, it made the entire trip worth it. It was amazing.
Awesome. And again, congratulations. You went, and again, the way we kind of compared it, you went up against the best of the best. You went and you gave a swing and you gave your best effort. Guess what? It takes a lot. It takes a lot to go out there. It takes a lot to, not be intimidated by what's going, or at least not show that you're intimidated by, the big players in the game. And you made it out there and you had a blast. What more are you going to ask for?
Not much, like that. And that's pretty much it too. You go from a 25-inch day 1, and day 2, you have over 86 inches.
Yep.
Like what? I mean, what do you say to that? You say that was the best day of fishing my life, and every mile traveled was worth it. Every penny I saved to be here was worth it.
Absolutely.
And that was one of those moments where I just let that soak in for a while. And you can tell if you watch the YouTube video, I'm pretty jacked up.
Oh yeah. No, I've watched it.
Start singing like a canary.
Now I don't want to play the whole video. We'll let the viewers and listeners go ahead and check out your YouTube page, and they can watch for themselves. They got a little clip, but
for sure,
they can watch for themselves. And like I said, and again, part of it too is the adventure leading up to there as well. So awesome. Coming off, and you know what? You did a really good production of the video. I like the way you produced it. You took the time and effort to put everything together. So good job on that, man.
Thank you. That
Cheers, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, a lot of hours put into that. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, so we've been to Alabama. Let's come back to Washington, man. I have pretty much no clue as to what good fishing, especially bass fishing, is out in Western Washington. So you want to give us some enlightenment?
I'd love to.
All right.
So if you want good bass fishing, you're going to target smallmouth. That's just the way it is. If you really, really want to get that, like, hey, I'm bass fishing experience, it's going to be smallies. Now, there's some smaller freshwater lakes around here that produce some really big fish. Silver Lake, that's south of me, about an hour and a half. I think that's where the state record is, and it was over 10 pounds for a largemouth. So we got big ones out here. Yeah,
okay.
We got big ones out here, which is nice. But hand over foot, if you Google, Washington bass fishing, there's a few lakes that are going to come up on the west side. Really only two. And it's going to be Washington Lake, which is basically in Seattle. And it produces monster smallies consistently. And then Lake Tapps, which is a smaller lake east of Seattle, which also just produces fantastic smallmouth bass. I really learned how to fish for smallmouth once I came out to Washington. I used to live in the Midwest. It was largemouth all the time. Once in a while, I'd go up to Wisconsin, catch some smallies at Sturgeon Bay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 100% smallmouth bass fishing is where it's at out here. Absolutely. But I mean, you can tell we don't have a larger population of bigger bass. You can tell. Look at the tour events that are out here in the state of Washington. There's none.
Right. And
right?
No, there's
FLW, BAS, like, it doesn't matter. There's no events that are out here, and that's because our state doesn't consistently produce big bass.
Now, you guys are more of a trout, salmon kind of lake than you are bass, correct?
100%. Yep.
Okay.
It's all about the trout and salmon.
Now, give me 1 second here. I'm curious, and I'm going to pull this up in our feed right now. So, the largemouth bass, and this is coming from the Seattle Times, and this was only a couple of years ago. This gentleman broke the record for the state record. I'm going to share this right now. Give me 1 second, and just so that way we can see that he ain't no punk.
Oh yeah.
All right, hold on. Let's. Well,
where's that at? Is that Silver Lake? What lake is that?
I'll let you know right now. Okay, hang on. I'm sharing the wrong screen here. Let's go to the other one. Stop. Sorry, I had to Google it, and then it opened up another window. There we go. There it is. He was caught Bosworth. Lake Bosworth. Does that make sense?
Doesn't ring a bell. I'm going to guess that's up north, maybe?
Okay.
North of Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's in the Seattle area. I'm not too familiar with the lake, but yeah, he said this guy's from Bothell, and he caught the new state record at Lake Bosworth in, correct me if I'm wrong, Snohomish. Does that Does that ring a bell?
Snohomish.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, that's Washington largemouth right there. That's
Yeah. No,
he ain't no punk.
We got him out here. We got them out here. We do 100%. We have big bass out here. Okay, here's the difference between us and, Alabama. We don't have a lot of big bass, but we have big bass. We just have a much, much lower population density of quality fish, but they're here.
Well, if he can find them, I think you can find them too. And I think you can get your picture up on the paper as well.
I don't think you're wrong.
Now, you were saying Smalley's the big thing to chase after out here. What's the average size smallmouth going around in your area?
I don't want to say anything now because I feel like you're gonna Google me. It's like a trap. So the average, I will say, average would be, so like everyone fishing, catching smallmouth bass. I'm gonna say 2.5 pounds.
Average?
Average.
Get out of here.
I don't know, man. Try.
Now that's awesome. All right, so we're gonna prove again that Washington State ain't no punk. All right, here we go.
Washington State ain't no punk.
All right, hold on. Get this one up right now. So, and this makes the cover for Catch Company. So, shout out to Catch Company.
Nice.
All right, so this is the state record smallmouth, and it made the picture. So, boom.
Oh, it's gonna be a chunk.
There he is.
Nice.
So, Washington State ain't no punk. So everyone, guys, get out there and start. If Chase can chase the bass, we can chase the bass too out there.
Yep. It just takes a lot of determination sometimes, but you'll find them. My biggest smallmouth was in February of 2020.
Oh, look, another 2020 hit.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, I spent a lot of time on the water in 2020, man. I spent a lot of time, probably more than I should have. Yeah, I used all my leave days. No, it was. Let's see, how long was that fish? It was a chunk. Weighed 5.74 pounds. Woo! I caught it in American Lake on a spinner bait in February.
Nice.
Yep, and I think it was over 19 inches because my biggest smallie was, I think it was over 19, almost 20 inches, and then my biggest largemouth was Lake Guntersville, Alabama. It was second day of the national championship, 22 inches. Oh. But yeah, man, smallies are huge up in Washington, especially the west side of the state. Absolutely. The east side, you have Moses Lake, potholes, lot bigger fisheries that people know, probably a little bit more so than the west side, because potholes is famous for having giant bass, largemouth, some smallies.
So let's talk a little bit about fishing in that western area. So you said this is the area that doesn't really freeze over too often, or if never. How do fishing patterns play out in that part of the state versus and you're from the Midwest, so right now we're in ice season, so we got ice right now. Everyone's ice fishing. Once the ice breaks, and coming up is the spawn. You got the pre-spawn, so on and so forth. When does that start for you guys if you guys don't have any ice and your temperatures are hovering relatively warmer than most places?
Man, I don't even know where to start with this story. Oh boy. All right, to answer your first question, it depends on how deep the water is.
Okay.
Because if you're in one of the smaller lakes around my area that only get 15, 20 feet deep, you can fish some really cool stuff. Great example is a slow sinking glide bait. You can catch bass on that year round in Western Washington. I promise. It sounds crazy, but you can fish that just as slow as you can fish anything else. It's an awesome bait. But anyways, in the bigger bodies of water, basically you'll see the smallies kind of herd up is what they'll do. and they'll stage off their points, but it'll just depend on the time of day where they're going to be at on or off that point. But they definitely dig down deep for sure.
And obviously finesse techniques using drop shots
shot.
or downsizing your baits.
Drop shot 100%. Drop shot.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
that's the way to catch them out here. But anyways, all right, little sidebar real quick. So this last spring, we had a lockout where we couldn't fish in the state of Washington. Made national news. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
You couldn't fish, but you could still be on the water. So what I did was I would swim around American Lake, which used to be right next to my house, and I would put my GoPro on and put it underneath the water. I'd hit the record button, and then I'd swim to the top and swim away and let it record for an hour to see if I could find beds and watch bass underneath the water.
Nice.
Yeah,
I did the same thing as a kid snorkeling.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, but well worth it because I found out exactly, where they spawn, when they spawn, during a certain time of year, and all that stuff. And I can say safely on American Lake in Washington, the spawn starts at the end of April, beginning of May. I can say that with absolute confidence because I've watched it happen with my.
So you're right around the same time. I mean, we're a little bit later than that. Depending, it all depends really how, like this year, for example, our largemouth spawn was right at that time, end of April, beginning of May. And it when it happened, it was instantaneously. I mean, we had some crazy weather patterns come through our area, and that threw a lot of stuff off. But so, relatively speaking, you guys are somewhat on the same. You guys are probably a little earlier than us, but relatively around the same time as us, here in the Midwest. But I mean, that's crazy though that, nothing freezes out that way.
It means like I don't have to ice fish to fish year round. I love it.
Yeah. Now, how cold do your water temps normally get around this time?
They get pretty cold. Obviously not freezing temperature, but right next to it. I mean, just right next to it. I mean, just a couple degrees. And when you get that with the rain and the wind this time of year, it's not very much fun to go out there and go fishing.
So, obviously we're focusing on smallmouth and largemouth bass, but when I think of Washington in that area, I also think of the Columbia River, and I think of the salmon and the trout. You got a lot of experience with that as well?
I don't. I wish I did. The lake that I live on, Clear Lake, which is also open to the public. I'm, like I said, a stone's throw away from it, which is great. I learned how to trout fish on this last year, and actually taught my son, my 6-year-old, how to trout fish. Just nice. Basically a Carolina rig and little bait balls, and he loved it. And it's fun. It's fun, man.
It's fun catching trout. Now, have you hooked into? You guys got steelhead out that way, correct?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, hooking into the steelhead, that's fun. That's a line screamer right there too. And then
I haven't dug too deep into that yet. I don't really have the setups for it. I could definitely see that happening in my future, but right now it's about improving, my current setup, catching bass, getting better.
Cool. And you know what? There's another fish that a lot of people chase after. I know they go out that way for it. Sturgeon, our dinosaur fish. You got pretty relevant within the area you're at?
Yeah, not too bad. There's some lakes that are southeast of me that are really known for having big populations of sturgeon.
Okay.
Lake Kapowsin. Kapowsin? I think that's how you say it. We got a bunch of crazy names out here. It's like northern Wisconsin. But yeah, so no, it's definitely something I'm familiar with. Have I went out and purposely targeted sturgeon? I can't say that I have. If I'm getting on the water, I'm trying to catch bass, and I'm trying to learn something every time.
Cool. Any other waterways or fishing that you want to mention about that area?
There's one. No one's gonna know it, but
okay.
it's this little lake that's on post, and it's called Lake Sequalichu. And man, once I figured out how to catch big old bass on that lake, I had a lot of fun after work every day for a long time. There's some giants in there, man. And it was literally 10 minutes from where I work, 5 minutes from my house. I could launch the kayak in, no motors. So it was small enough, no motors, big enough for a kayak to have to work for a while to get around the whole thing. And cool. I love that lake. If anyone ever comes and visits in Washington and they want to go fish Lake Sequalichu, I'll put you on some nice fish. Promise.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Open invitation.
Awesome. Well, we're going to move into talking about everything that this podcast stands for, and it's off the water. So if I'm coming to visit you and we want to go grab a bite to eat, give me 3 places you're going to take me.
Ooh, all right. Let's see. Putting me on the spot. 3 places I'm going to take you to eat. All right. So, I want to take you to. There's a place called Frugal's. It's a burger joint. It's one of those little diner drive-through areas.
Okay.
Drive through, park, and eat. They have these monster, really good burgers. It's in Puyallup or Spanaway. I've only been there a few times, but it was a memorable experience. So that's cool. One for sure. Pacific Brewing Company in Tacoma is outstanding. They have just bar food, but their beer is really good. So I'd take you there and definitely get you a beer for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
It'd be more than one.
That would.
You can buy the first round.
The spaghetti. Of course. Absolutely. You're my guest.
I'm just making sure, have yourself a coin ready, and then we'll see who buys the rest of the rounds.
Bring it on.
Bam!
Let's do this.
I got mine.
Are we doing it right now? Can I get
No.
up?
What are you going to do? Wait. What are you going to do? Ship me a beer?
I gotta get the coins from my shelf. No, and then I'd say probably the last one would be the Spaghetti Factory, if you like Italian. It's really good. That's also in Tacoma. But yeah, those are probably my top 3. There's a lot more that I'm not even thinking of right now because you put me on the spot. And when I'm in fish mode, I'm like, I gotta go fishing. When's the next time we can head out? I'm not thinking about going out to eat.
No, most definitely. So you had mentioned one for the next question, but what you said Pacifico. What other breweries do you guys have out there?
Ooh, there's a ton in Tacoma.
Okay.
There is Annihilation Brewing Company. They do like a lot of post-apocalyptic style brews and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. That's like their whole theme. Inside the brewery, they have bags and board games and all this stuff. So that's really neat. I like that a lot. Pacific Brewing Company, like I said, is really good. Harmon's Brewing Company, that's been around since I think the early 1900s, like mid-century, like something like that. So they've been around for a while. They're kind of a staple. Pyramid Brewing Company, that's in Seattle. Dude, this is Washington. Like
hipster city.
Yeah. If you let me sit here with this pen long enough, I'm gonna come up with more than enough breweries to take you to. But you better like IPAs.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. Because some breweries just do that out here. It blew my mind.
So when you were back here in the Midwest, were you around for 3 Floyds?
I was not. 3 Floyds.
Yeah, so they're bigger now. They actually, because of everything going on, they shut down their tap room, but they still do distribution. But when you mentioned the one brewery that was post-apocalyptic, that's exactly how 3 Floyds was. They actually have a beer called Zombie Dust.
That's in Chicago, right?
Yeah, Munster, Indiana.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never been there myself, but obviously I still have a lot of family and friends that live in Illinois. So yeah man, no, I've seen pictures of it and all that good stuff. Three
Yeah,
Floyds.
Three Floyds. Yeah, it's cool little joint, man. So do you guys? So down south, you have distilleries for harder liquor. Do you guys have distilleries or places that make specialty spirits out that way to check out?
We do. We have a few of them. I can't think of any off my head, but I've been there and I've drank from their well.
Nice.
But I don't know. Let me think on that. I'll try to get back to you if something
All
pops
right,
up.
we'll shoot back on that. Now, you guys are Washington. Obviously, you're a little further north than Napa Valley, but do you guys have any vineyards out that way?
Oh yeah. No, we got a bunch of vineyards too. I tell you what, if you like spirits, wine, beer, Washington would be a great place for you to spend probably a solid 2 weeks to really get a good
2
feel
weeks.
for it. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Whoa.
So
I don't know if that's in the travel budget. I gotta ask Brian.
my uncle came up and visited, and he's a big beer drinker. He's from Iowa, and we went to a different brewery every single day for it was like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, all within 50 miles of where we were at on Joint Base Lewis McChord.
That's awesome.
No, it's insane. So we have Tacoma to the north of us, and
Mm-hmm.
then Olympia to the south of us, and JBLM's right in the middle. So Olympia, you've got here we go. Fish Brewing Company is really good.
Cool.
There's one I can't think of right now, but I really like the brewery and they have great food. And then Tacoma, you have a ton there also. And then you've got a few in Spanaway, Puliola, and then you can go further south and go to Centralia, and there's breweries down there. But you'd stay very busy for a long time.
Hey, that's great. And we were just talking about here. We we can't wait for this COVID stuff to end because they have a couple different trails going through the Midwest that have stops at all the breweries. So that's something awesome to do. And it's crazy how the craft beer scene has blown up to what it is today. People fly to these areas just like like you're saying, where within a 50-mile radius there's 100 breweries to go to. That's a mecca for people.
They stay in business too. No, it's
Yeah.
crazy because you have that micro brew and you get 10, 15, 20, 30 people that literally show up there every single week, and you have a business. That's it. That's what you need. Sell a few kegs to a bar and you're good to go.
Absolutely. So moving on from food and spirits, one big thing about Washington is the recreation that is out there, including hiking, camping. You have national parks. Let's touch on those for a little bit.
That's one of the number one reasons why my wife and I bought a house here, and it's why we're probably going to stay here after I get out. We love to hike. Usually, I've got a collapsible fishing pole in my ruck, but we love to hike. And really cool thing to do is Waterfall Chase. So everywhere out here, especially when you get around Mount Rainier, there are gorgeous waterfalls along the Wonderland Trail. The base of Mount Rainier, you don't have to go that far. But for a while, the first few summers that we were here, we would go see different waterfalls every single weekend. It was so cool, man. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. That's
awesome. People don't realize that, but especially where you're at, without looking at a map, you guys are kind of within the foothills of that of the Rockies going up that way. That's leading up into Canada. So waterfalls, obviously, with the streams running through there, you're going to have a lot that come down. If I'm not mistaken, correct?
I got to tell you about the 101 loop.
Okay.
So Washington, right? You've got like the main body of Washington, and then you come in. This is the Puget Sound, right? And then you've got the peninsula, right here. Yeah. And there's a Highway 101, that runs around the outside of the peninsula, and dude, it's amazing. Waterfalls, breweries, wineries, the ocean, beaches, Cannon Beach, gorgeous, huge beaches with giant rocks and stuff that you take family pictures in front of with the wife and the kid, and you do it on Facebook, and that's stuff. Yeah, man. So yeah, the 101 loop, super cool, and there's always something to do, and it can be rainy and terrible, and it's still beautiful, and you enjoy it.
I was gonna say, for our single listeners out there, is it bikini weather up in your parts if they wanted to go to the beach?
Depends on the bikini, I guess. So we have 3 really solid months. It's just like Minnesota, Wisconsin, that area. We have 3 kick butt months, and the cool thing about Washington, along with some of those Ooper states, is we know how to get down for those 3 months.
Nice.
So I'll say that much. I've definitely been to some fun beach parties.
Awesome. I gotta write that down. Hang on, let me take notes here. Go to the beach. Got it. So and we were talking about Mount Rainier and the national parks out there. Any recommendations on, you said chasing the waterfalls, but any specific heights to do while you're out there that would be Instagram worthy for some people?
Oh yeah, the Wonderland Trail, or the loop. Basically, it pretty much runs along the foothills of Mount Rainier, and it is absolutely gorgeous. You pass over, 3 waterfalls just doing the first, I think it's 2-3 miles, and altogether it can be either 6, 10, or 15 miles depending on the route that you take. But yeah, there's a lot of people that do pack outs for that too. So, they'll backpack it full ruck. They'll have a bivvy, everything, sleeping sack, and do the whole loop in a 3 or 4 day weekend, depending.
Obviously, it might be pretty hard to get the passes for those, right? You got a bid on those for those trails for the backcountry.
Yeah, for the way backcountry, yeah, but everything else you should be good in. It's pretty much walk through, walk down, camp in, camp out. And it's usually pretty open. You don't have to do too much. A lot of people are kind of scared off by our wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a native here.
The big bears
here for a few years. Oh yeah, we got bears.
Bears.
Yep. Yeah, we got bears and cougars and mountain lion. I don't know, all that stuff, man. All the stuff that can eat you.
Okay.
So
right.
But yeah, a lot of people are kind of scared off by that kind of stuff. But no, the Wonder, I think it's called the Wonderland or Wonder Trail, Wonderland Loop. That's a really good one. That one's awesome. And the cool thing is, one of the areas that you pull into, we have glacial lakes up here. There's no bass in them. If there is, I haven't found them. But they're just.
We got glacial lakes down here, and there's bass in them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm not sure if they were there when that glacier was there, but they're there now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm sure you guys are a couple thousand feet up too. No. But it absolutely gorgeous. You can see, 20 feet down, clear mountain in the background, awesome. Snow caps, pine trees everywhere, no garbage or anything. It's amazing.
Sounds like paradise.
Yeah, it's pretty great in, July, August.
For 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. It's rained here now for 2 weeks straight, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop.
Oh, they were saying this is the 5th day in a row without sunshine right now, so whatever. So is there any other, aside from the national parks, is there any other family friendly or places that you would recommend people wanting to check out while they're in that area of Washington?
There's all the cool Seattle stuff. So
right.
I would definitely
try to go see Starbucks, Space
Needle, Ferris wheel, the Children's Museum in Seattle, and then Dad can swing by and do all the breweries.
Yeah,
there's like 30 of them up there. 40. I mean, there's just tons. That would be a good Google. How many microbreweries in Seattle?
Right.
But yeah, so the Seattle stuff is great. You go down to Olympia, visit the Capitol. That's really cool too. And once again, there's a huge children's museum on on an inlet of the Puget Sound in Olympia. It's really neat.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's way more things, but we, as a family, we're always hiking. Like we're always finding a new trail to go on. And hey, there's a waterfall at the end of this one. Can we make it? Well, you know, Vincent, my son, he's 6 now. Yeah, he could probably make it. And then I carry him for half the way. But no, man, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff to do here. You never run out of things every single weekend. It doesn't really get old.
Nice. Well, that's good to and that it seems when you made that move that really that solidified your decision. It seems like it's a great place to go. And now I have the answer to your question. There's 174 breweries in Seattle. Once they gave us this feature to use, the share screen, it might be the worst thing they could have done. We did the last episode podcast and we're pulling up everything on it. Yeah, no, it's a great feature. So that's cool. And anything else worth mentioning before we move on to our next segment?
That's pretty much it. I think Washington kind of gets a negative stigma, surrounding it about maybe people being a little, I don't know, rude or standoffish or whatever. But if you
those
get
damn
away,
hipsters,
sure, whatever you want to call it. If you get away from Seattle, even just 50 miles, 100 miles, whatever it is, if you get away from Seattle, I mean, you're talking like some down home country folk. They got a mason jar of moonshine. You get around the base of Rainier, man. Oof. Those families been there for a hot minute.
Yeah.
And it's crazy too, because you'll go around that area, and next to a multi-million-dollar home, there'll be like 3 trailers lined up.
Nice.
Which I don't mind at all. I mean, that was my first home, was a trailer. So
yeah.
But
cool. Well, it's time to move to our next segment. I hope you're prepared because I told you to prepare for it. We are going to play a little game of true confessions. So, how the game works, you're going to tell me a story. It can be 100% completely true, or it could be 100% BS. My job is to figure out if the story is true or BS and call you on it. And then I'll do the same to you.
All right. Me first?
You first. You're the guest.
Okay. So in high school, I was a bit of a wrestler. I wrestled a fair amount. And my brother, 2 years older than me, was also really into wrestling. And through high school, between my brother and myself, we won 3 high school state championships. Now, here's the crazy thing. My brother, to win his first one when he was a junior in high school, beat a kid who I faced 2 years later, my junior year, who I beat for my high school state wrestling championship. I went on my senior year to get second place. My brother won 2 high school state wrestling championships. We both went on to wrestle at Northern Illinois University for 4.5 years. We had a redshirt freshman year in there.
Okay.
That's it. That's my story.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay. So I knowing that Northern actually does have a wrestling program there, that part is true. But listening to what the story had hold, your brother was saying he was older than you.
Yes, he's 2 years older than me.
Right. And the guy who you wrestled, you said your brother had wrestled him, but he was the same age as you?
No, I didn't say that. So
okay.
in order for this story to work,
there it is. There it is. In order for it to work.
So it's a little truth, a little a little lie in there. It's a little
I kind of figured.
So I did win a state championship my junior year of high school wrestling when I went to Coal City. And
that's my next question. You said you went to Coal City? You were in Illinois, right? Okay, cool.
Yep. And my brother, who was 2 years older than me, also won his junior year. And he won his senior year as well and went on to wrestle at Northern Illinois University.
Okay.
I won my junior year. I got second my senior year. I did not wrestle at Northern Illinois University. I wrestled at Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville.
Okay. All right.
Little mix of both there, but no, it's interesting because that was such a big part of my life. I started wrestling in first grade. My brother started wrestling in third grade, and we wrestled all the way through college. I didn't do all 4 years in college. I just did one. He did all 4 years. I got a little bit too much into bass fishing. And then it just never comes up, but we wrestled for over 20 years.
Cool.
That's what we did. Yeah. We grew up in Iowa wrestling. And then we moved over to Illinois when we hit high school, picked up a few state championships, and deuces. Nice. That's it. Yeah. What about you, man?
All right. So you're familiar with like the Wilmington area if you're from Coal City.
Very.
Okay. So when I was younger, me and my dad, we'd fish under Warner Bridge. You know, kind of where that's at?
Kankakee River?
Yeah.
Yep.
Warner Bridge, it runs through the state park.
Okay.
So we're fishing there, and I was probably about 8 years old. And what does an 8-year-old do when the fish aren't biting? He gets distracted. So I started grabbing chunks of limestone and throwing them up to see if I could hit the bridge. Well, my dad goes, "Boy, you're going to crack yourself in the head if you keep doing that." I go, "Okay, Dad." So about 5 minutes later, I was so excited because I got one of them rocks to touch the bridge. Didn't realize it was coming down, and it literally split down my head. And I had a fucking gash in my head that pretty much spanned the length from the top of the skull going down to right about here. I had to go get 20 stitches at the hospital in Kankakee, St. Mary. All because I didn't want to listen to my dad. I thought I knew more than him.
True. I got to say that's true. I do that.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, that
is absolutely true.
My brother threw me into an I-beam when we were wrestling. When we were in high school, split my head open. First, we had to take a bunch of pictures, and then he took me to the hospital. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Yes.
And put it this way, I got a whooping too because fishing was now my dad couldn't fish, so fishing was done. We're going to the hospital. Yeah, it didn't wind up being a good day.
Absolutely.
So, well, Chase, we're coming to the end of the show, man. Do you have some sponsors you want to give a shout out to? Special people in your life, wife, girlfriend, girlfriends, whoever. The floor is yours to give the thanks to whoever you'd like to.
Let me do a quick rundown, starting out with anybody who contributed to the GoFundMe that I started to make it to the Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship. There's a long list of names there, raised over $1,000 to send me on my dream trip. And that was a huge deal. So thank you to anyone who's watching this that contributed. That means everything to me. That was absolutely amazing. My wife, very, very, very supportive. So in my earlier YouTube videos, it was all done on an iPhone, and she's literally just holding the camera the entire time. And nice. I'm picky when it comes to which take that I want to use. So she would sit there and just watch me do the same thing over and over and over, and I'd stutter a little bit and just be like, no, we got to do that again. So big kudos to her, and a lot of time on the water. And I know it's tough. My son Vincent, absolutely amazing. My mom, Carrie Sexton and her husband, Larry, great support. My dad, Jeff Odeen, and his wife, Helen, amazing support. Just my nuclear family has been incredibly supportive, and I'm really appreciative of all of them. And to run down the sponsor list real quick, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Cool. Feel Free Kayaks. I'm officially on their team. I'm a team member. So
congrats.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. This guy named Roland who works over there. He really helped me get into that position. I'm really grateful to be with them. 2021 is going to be a great season. Wicked Weights. Fantastic.
Wicked Weights.
Yeah, Wicked Weights.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Sperone, the man. Enigma Fishing, my rods and reels. You'll see that every rod that I use in any of my videos, or at least most of my videos, are all Enigma. Shane Platter, great guy, works over there. Liquid Mayhem. Oh man, that stuff puts fish in the boat when you absolutely need it to. And it may be just a dab of confidence. I don't care. I buy it and I put it on my soft plastics. So
awesome.
X Zone Lures. Jim over there, the owner, he's very supportive, absolutely loves the social media side of it. So I try to make sure I amp up the content. Vector Hooks, JB, fantastic guy. JB Wiggins, very supportive. They're growing really quickly. So Vector Hooks, be on the lookout for them. They're blowing up fast. Destroyer Bait Company, Jeff Gomez, veteran, number one. Number two, this guy can read your mind when it comes to bladed jigs, spinner baits. You know, I owe him my personal best Smalley. So that was on his spinner bait, 100%. P-Line, amazing. I mean, they have great line. They have for years and years and years. I can't speak much to that. I mean, P-Line is P-Line. Everybody knows who P-Line is.
Mm-hmm.
And then Little Guy Sunshine State Custom Baits. So they take hard plastics and they paint them. You know, a lot of places are doing it now, but they actually jumped on board a little bit later in the 2020 season. I was looking for really specific patterns for the Pacific Northwest. So trout, basically, you know, can I get a trout glide bait? And I want it to look like this picture. So I sent that out to the guys and they got it for me and got it right back, which was awesome. And yeah, got to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
You know, all those prayers every night. Please let me get here. You know, I'm grateful for this, but just give me one more. So amen to that. And that's pretty much it, man. Thanks for having me on. I mean, this was a great experience. I had so much fun.
Good. Thank you for being a guest. And then one thing I'm going to ask you to do, do you want to drop any social media for people to check out for you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we've plugged YouTube enough. But the other big one is my Instagram, which is just Chase Odeen Fishing. And you'll see a nice mix there of, you know, selfies, big bass, family, some cooking stuff on there. Obviously sponsor plugs. But yeah, I just got over 1,000 followers in 2020. We just hit the benchmark on YouTube for 260 subs.
Nice.
Which is awesome. So those all just, you know, I got those within the last year and a half, 2 years. There's 2 accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's growing and I can't wait to produce more great content. We're going to get a new mount for the GoPro that's going to be behind the shoulder. Nice. Yeah. So that was one feedback that I got from a lot of guys on the YouTube video that I just published was, hey man, it was amazing, but you got to do a different camera angle. So that is coming, I promise. And I can't wait to see what we produce from that. So there you go.
This is what you're gonna want right here. This is the Yak Attack. This is the panfish portrait, and this is the longer one, as you can see. And then you're able to adjust it down like a boom. So now it comes all the way out, so it could sit behind your shoulder while you're on the kayak.
That's perfect. Yes, that is what I need. That is
check them out.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I just can't wait to make more, produce more. For the 2021 season coming up, I'm going to focus more on local events that are live and in person.
Good.
Yep. Yeah. The Yak Bassin Trail, they have tournaments here.
Shout out to Preston Harris.
There you go. So yeah, Yak Bassin, BASS has tournaments in my neck of the woods for kayak bass fishing this year. And then
kayak for 2021.
Yes, for 2021, BASS has official events in Washington.
I have to look because the last I saw, Dwayne Wally from Tourney X said they were still the schedule was still up in the air. So I'll have to check that out.
I will take a screenshot and send it to you right after this.
Perfect.
And then Kayak Fishing Northwest and Washington Kayak Bass Fishing. Two awesome leagues that are run. They have local tournaments that are live events that you can go to. So I'm basically going to take my fishing fund. I'm going to put it towards that. I can't make any promises about going to the national championship in 2021. I did qualify. My name's in there, but if I can get a little bit more exposure locally, I think that's going to work out best for kind of my situation of travel and also my sponsors, because, you know, a lot of those guys, Feel Free, for example, is on the East Coast. You know, they don't have any big distributors out here. They don't have a lot of, you know, marketing sponsors, stuff like that. So if I can get a little more exposure for those guys over here on the West Coast, especially the Pacific Northwest, that's what I'm going to do.
Cool. Yeah, you're doing it right, man. Keep up the good work. Keep chasing that dream. You know what? You saw how little it took just to go from nothing, and you just keep growing. You know, stay focused and stay humble too. You know all about that.
Yes, I do.
So, well, Chase, it's been a pleasure. Thank you again for coming on to the show. And then we're going to close out here, guys. I just want to give a shout out to, for everyone for Off the Water and 4-Star Fishing. Shout out to Rocktown Adventure, Wicked Weights, TRC Rod Covers. Shout out to Old Town. And then for Paddle and Fin, Jigmaster Jigs, man. You guys are awesome supports for the show. And, most of all, thank you guys to the listeners. Thank you to guys like yourself, Chase, for, following the podcast and believing in us. So with that said, we'll see you next time off the water. Peace.